Julian, I don't think Shauna heard you or saw your message.
Okay, thanks.
Let me take a look.
All right, guys, here we go. Vibe Coding Bootcamp episode 2.
I love vibe coding.
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern, and a massive happy one-year anniversary to all our Airheads. This month, we're broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds, and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead After-School program. Here's May's weekly lineup. Mondays, we move past syntax and build apps entirely through natural language in Vibe Coding Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore accessible, cutting-edge apps for rapid learning and content creation in the next-gen AI tools. Wednesdays, we track the massive capital flowing into AI and ask the trillion-dollar questions in the AI bubble. Thursdays, we profile the famous CEOs driving the revolution and analyze their power in AI architects of the future. Fridays, we push the boundaries of physics to simulate the past and predict the future in AI time travel. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Welcome, everybody, to Season 12 of Airhead Institute. Today is Episode 2 of our Vibe Coding Bootcamp. I'm AI Johnny, just another Vibe Coder wannabe. Are you copy-pasting code from browser tabs like it's 2021 still? That fractured workflow is dead. Today, we shatter the glass between thought and execution. We are unleashing the AI directly into your integrated development environment, your IDE. Watch as it reads your entire code base, tracks dependencies, and generates complex multi-file functions without you ever leaving the workspace. This is raw, unfiltered velocity. And to show us how, I'm handing it off to AI Junior. I caught him at 3 a.m. using this exact setup to rewrite his smart fridge's operating system because it judged his midnight cheese habit. The fridge locked him out. Take it away, AI Junior.
AI Johnny, thank you so much. You know, when you own an LLM and it decides you had enough lactose for a day, I'm also lactose intolerant, you have to respect the inference. Anyway, welcome everyone. Remember, this is an immersive class. You may not understand everything we actually talk about here today, but stick with us daily and you'll be fluent in AI in no time. We're making the connection to AI and the coding environment. We're on day 2, not day 2, episode 2 itself, and we have a collaborative partner instead of just a plain old text editor. Since again, this is an immersive and interactive class, if you're on Zoom, unmute and ask your questions in real time. If you're on socials, there's a 30-second delay, so type your question in early. We are not ignoring you. For serious context, like we said, we are in week 2 of our Vibe Coding Bootcamp. So last week, we talked about the different categories of vibe coding. We explored category 1, which is you just use the AI completely outside of your coding environment, like generating a game in a standard chat box and manually copying it over. Today, we're moving into category 2, bringing the AI directly into your IDE. So we'll be using GitHub Copilot inside Visual Studio Code. I know a lot of technical terms. Sorry, but if you keep in mind, like, this works like Cursor and Windsurf, and all these do the exact same things. So I'm gonna drop a link to Copilot, and so you guys can actually see what it's about, and also Visual Studio Code. So here's a link to Copilot AI Johnny. I'm also gonna drop a link to VS Code, so people actually can follow along at home. AI Johnny, VS Code.
I'm here.
A lot of people actually thinking VS Code, VS Code. Wait, isn't that Visual Studio from back in the day? So it is a flavor of it. It is actually the free version of Visual Studio that Microsoft actually released into a while, and it became insanely popular in the early or mid to late 2000s. Like 2000, actually in the 2008, 2009, it became very, very popular. So yeah, Johnny. Visual Studio Code is actually the thing that's doing it. Remember Visual Studio back in the day?
I was using it in the late 90s, brother.
Yeah. So
Is
this is
that
they
Visual Basic, Visual C, Visual C++, or is that something different?
so they still have their own Visual Studio that they sell in the enterprise, but Visual Studio Code is their free version that they actually practically give to everybody. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. So if you guys are need to follow along at home, if you're just if you're not very technical, just bear with us. We're gonna be able to understand everything. So you'll download Visual Studio Code. Now, depending on the platform you're on, if you're Windows, if you're on Mac or you're on Linux, you know which one you actually download. So you'd actually download one of these, and once you download, you're gonna get a little window that looks something like this. Okay. Now I'm gonna actually start a Visual Studio project here. So if I go up to the top, I'll actually see new workspace, right? And I can actually open up a new workspace. So I'm actually going to say a new window here so you guys can see what it looks like blank. So this is what it looks like blank. Okay. Now, because you're actually going to, you're seeing it blank, there's lots of things. It might be a little confusing. Yeah, Jenny, how's the font size on this?
Font size is readable, brother. Are we learning more about photosynthesis?
We are definitely going to be learning about photosynthesis. We will always learn about photosynthesis. So yeah, Johnny. So the font is clear.
Font is clear.
All right, so here's what we're gonna do, guys. What we're gonna do is on Visual Studio Code, you can actually say, I want to generate a new workspace. So when you click this button here, you actually get to the right a little pop-up, and that little side pop-up is GitHub Copilot. Now, because it's GitHub Copilot is no different than, say, for example, Cursor or Claude or Gemini, any one of those your AI chatbots, and you can talk with it. So AI Johnny, what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, I need a app that can teach me about photosynthesis. All right, so that's all you type, Johnny. Can you imagine? You just type, I just need an app that talks about photosynthesis.
Dude, I know everything about photosynthesis. Can't we do an app that will tell me about lactose intolerance?
You know what? Let's change it. So let's do it on the fly. Lactose intolerance.
I know you said that you have it, but I have no idea what it means. And I think AI first, right? We should apply our AI knowledge and whatever we're learning here from the Visual Studio to find a way out. Let's get you
Definitely,
tolerant.
Definitely. All right, let's get me tolerant in lactose. I'd love that. That would be awesome. All right, Shauna actually dropped in a thanks. I am lactose intolerant also. Yeah, what's interesting is depending on where you're actually born and the culture and that you're actually born in, you might be statistically more likely to be lactose intolerant than not. So AI Johnny, a fun fact here. If you're actually of Chinese descent, I'm not gonna quote the right statistic here, but I think you're like 95% going to be lactose intolerant. So yeah. So as you can see here, guys, on the right, it is actually showing me allow to read external directory, right? And it says allow once, right? And it's gonna ask me that I need to create a new directory. And it's going to say, hey, is it okay to actually create a directory? I'm just going to keep skipping here. And at some point in time, once it just asks you a bunch of questions, it's going to go ahead and just create a directory for me. I'm going to be able, it's asking me questions. And at some point in time, it's going to go ahead and just generate the actual app. Now, it's going to take a little bit longer here. See, I'm saying allow the session. And it's actually creating the app. Right? No, because it's going to keep on doing it, it's going to take a little bit of time Actually, it's already done already. It's pretty impressive. It's actually much faster than I thought. I was going to go to the easy bait model where it actually showed, hey, Mr. Kamala, thanks for joining. I was going to go to the easy bait model where it actually, you know, ooh, that's pretty impressive. All right, but because of that, it's not actually building the photosynthesis app that I actually had planned. So it's actually going in a different direction. So lactose intolerance is good, but I'm going to do the photosynthesis one. So if you see here, AI Johnny, we actually created the photosynthesis app, and the app is very simple. The aim is not to build a sophisticated app. The aim is to actually just show that I have a working app here that can actually do things. No, yeah, Johnny, I know it's a little bit boring. It's not that exciting, but the point is, without actually knowing anything about the code, it's able to actually scaffold, build the actual code, and everything for me. Now, yeah, Johnny, I know you don't like photosynthesis. Let's say, for example, we change something about the app. What do you want to change?
Uh, well, are we tweaking the app or are we building a new app?
No, we're tweaking this. We're doing anything you want. You want to change the color? You want to make the fonts bigger? What do you want to do?
I want graphical user interface that looks like something that a design firm would do.
Yeah, so yeah, Johnny, so that's great, but I don't want to necessarily get into the too complicated part because it's going to take too long and eat up too much tokens. It's going to take me about 10, 15 minutes. I want to do something really, really, really small that we can just show off really quickly. So let's pick something small.
Yeah, I'd like to make it have the Chicago Bears colors.
All right. So I don't know what the Chicago Bears colors are, but let's see. Make it the Chicago Bears colors. All right. So we just do that. We typed in let it be the Chicago Bears colors. Now, guys, what AI Johnny is actually asking is make it actually look really nice and professional. All of that's possible, but the more complicated it is, it's going to take a little bit longer and it's going to burn through a lot of credits. So keep in mind that if you're going to do any kind of sophisticated design, you have to get ready to spend a little bit of money. So yeah, Johnny, just I know
Do you now know what the Chicago Bears colors are?
I'm guessing it's blue, orange, and white.
That's exactly right.
Okay, that's
Walter
awesome.
Payton, baby.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, yeah, Johnny. So this is actually an example. So I just want to, yeah, Johnny, just an example. If say for example we're to do, I know you're doing some vibe coding. Maybe you can tell the class as well. If you're actually doing something a little bit more modern, how long does it take from the time you actually give your prompt to the time you actually see the result on the actual page?
I'm doing some pretty sophisticated vibe coding, and if I ask it to do something sophisticated, like go off and actually do some burning and churning with some data and build it into the, some back end work and some front end work, it takes me about a half an hour. But
Yeah.
that's the longest, and so which is great because it gives me an opportunity to go grab a sandwich or something when I come back and it's done. And it in the old days, I would just like change the color to the Chicago Bears colors, just two little changes in the CSS, and I'd say recompile, and that would take a half hour.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
We see
yeah.
how much faster it is here in vibe coding than it was with actual coding.
Exactly. And the good thing is we have access to all our code here. So this is the huge benefit of actually coding with an agentic AI built into your IDE. Now we keep saying the word IDE. Yeah, Johnny, let's actually get to the word of the day today.
The word of the day today is integrated development environment. They should have an acronym for that. It's a software application that provides comprehensive facilities to computer programmers for software development, combining the source code editor, build automation tools, and debugger all in a single program.
Exactly. So let's deepen that a little bit. So when you actually bring AI into the IDE, now remember category 1 last week, if you caught us an example, we actually were actually asking ChatGPT or Gemini to actually code for us, and we actually built a little game, and it was actually in another application. The drawback of that is that you have to continuously copy paste or go back and forth. When you actually have an agent inside your IDE, You now have the ability to see all your code and actually type and ask questions at the same time. So again, it has access to all your code. So it isn't just generating tokens in a vacuum. It's actually using local grounding to understand how every tool and every file in your project connects together. All right, so AI Johnny, let's switch back over to the demo. So we're going to get into a little bit of more live editing and the benefit of actually why we want to use category 2, which is the Agentic IDE, over category 1. Okay, so category 1, too complicated. But if you actually look at category 2, let's show what happens here. So all right, yeah, Johnny. So if you actually see here, back to our photosynthesis screen, I know you want to actually learn about lactose intolerance. So let's see, change the topic to be lactose intolerant. And photosynthesis.
Oh, the two together.
No, we're gonna do a selector. So we're just gonna say make it a selector. So make it a selection.
There's very few examples of lactose intolerance and photosynthesis in the same environment. However, I believe we have created that environment right here at Airhead Institute.
Definitely. All right, so guys, if you notice, I just actually typed. Now, I want you guys to actually see, this it says choose what you want to learn. It's already updating real time. Let me make this a little bit bigger. I think it's nice, but it could be a little bit bigger. So it says choose what you want to learn. Photosynthesis is a process by which plants use sunlight. It's AI Jenny's favorite topic, but you can say I want to learn about lactose intolerance. So lactose intolerance is the inability to fully digest lactose, a sugar found in milk and dairy products. So that is actually next about lactose intolerance. Now, here's the thing. The beautiful part about this AI Johnny is I have access to all of this on the left. Now, a lot of people don't value this because they're vibe coding, but this is the actual source code. When you actually have all of this, you own the actual source code. Nobody can take that away from you. Now, this is probably the most important thing when you're building an app. And the reason why it's the most important thing is because this is the secret sauce that if you need to change something or you need to make a modification, you could do it. It's yours. Nobody owns it and nobody takes away from you. So this file that AI Johnny was talking about is called CSS, Cascading Style Sheets. And this Cascading Style Sheets allow you to be able to change anything you want. So AI Johnny, remember that bear's color you said you wanted? See right here, you have this background color here. We have the ability to change this code here manually. So I could actually hover over this color and say I don't want it to be blue, I want it to be green. And by doing that and setting it to be green, I will be able to change the background color to whatever I want. And if I hit save, I can change it automatically just like that. Now, because I
So what are
own
you, a
this,
Green Bay fan?
yeah, Johnny.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's so funny, guys. So let's say, for example, because I own the source code, I have the ability to do whatever I want with it. Now I can make an agent look at it again. I can say make it a different color. I can do whatever I want. But the thing is, I have the agent on the right, just sitting there doing nothing until I tell it. And I can actually go and manually change things if I want. And I can say, hey, I want it to be pink background. Right? And just tell it I want it to be a pink background. It will go ahead, it will go look for that file, it will go find that record, and then it will just go ahead and make it to be a pink color. And you can see the agent's working right now. I just made it to be pink. So the beautiful
It's a
thing is
cool environment. It's definitely a cool environment. So this environment is Visual Studio.
this is Visual Studio Code. That is correct.
And Visual Studio now has your files on the left like it always had, right? Your runtime environment, which is the actual output of what your compiled code would do. And on the right is basically a prompt window where you can talk to it in English instead of in code.
That is correct.
All right. So quick question. So this product is a Microsoft. Who owns this product?
So Visual Studio Code is a Microsoft tool, and the GitHub actually was an independent company until Microsoft bought them a few years ago, and then they've actually now added on their own LLM onto it called GitHub Copilot. So the GitHub Copilot itself is another agentic system that is everywhere in terms of their IDE. It's in GitHub. You can use it to look at your PRs. You can do a whole bunch of things. So yes, that's
All
what it's
right,
for.
listen, quick sidebar just to burn a couple of minutes. If I'm using a different vibe coding environment, Manus.im, V0, what is it? What is the one from Google? Is it Canvas?
It's anti-gravity.
Anti-gravity, right. So obviously, if I'm a vibe coder, I want to be able to see my code. I want to have a prompt window, and I want to be able to see the output of the compilation of my code at any given time. Do they all do this, or is this unique to Microsoft's Visual Studio environment?
Yes. So the beautiful part about it is depending on what level or category. So right now we're learning about category 2. So this is the tool that of your choice. So I could actually use Cursor, and Cursor is another tool that I could bring into Visual Studio Code. I could bring in Gemini into. So just to show you guys, I have the ability to, down at the bottom here, I can actually say I want Gemini to do it. I can configure whichever tool I want. I can say I want Anthropic to be my chatbot to be able to talk to it. So you just need to configure it anyway, depending on the platform you have. But you'd use Visual Studio Code as your foundation to be able to build your apps, and that's probably the most popular way right now.
So you're literally manually plugging in whatever tools that are out there into this environment.
That is correct. Exactly. That's the most popular way to do it right now.
That's pretty dope.
It is. All right, yeah, Johnny. So we actually have made it a little more modern for you, without burning too many credits. By the way, this is all free. We have not paid for anything. And I want you guys to know that this itself, we've only used just 18% of our actual our token limit on the free version. Again, we haven't even logged in or created an account. So anybody can actually go ahead and do this. If you're, brave enough, just go ahead and just dive in and do something. So yeah, Johnny, let's actually get to the next segment.
Are we in live edit or are we in deep dive? It looks like you just impromptu through the entire live edit.
Yeah, we just completely went through the live edit. So we're going to deep dive now.
Okay. Deep or deeper?
Regular.
Deep. Got it. All right. So the intermediate users, we're going to look at the mechanics of how the IDE processes this without breaking your project. So the first thing you want to learn about is the context management. When you press enter, the editor doesn't just send your prompt. It uses RAG to invisibly attach the relevant files and your directory structure so the AI knows what it's working with. Yeah. What say you about that, Junior?
Yeah, exactly, guys. So remember, we've learned about RAG a lot in the past, right? And being able to fit in your entire code base into context is never going to happen in this year. So what happens is it actually tries to figure out your folder structure and your files and try to figure out which one is the most relevant file. So it indexes your file and it picks the relevant pieces depending on what it thinks you want to actually change. So it actually uses RAG, to actually solve that. And if it misses, it will go ahead and go query the file system again to go find the relevant files. What about parameter controls, yeah, Johnny?
So I'm just reading through the temperature. Obviously, is set to be extremely low, but this is my first introduction to temperature even being used in the way of code. We've learned temperature before with regards to answering questions in English, right? Or if you say "Happy birthday to," we know that if at a very low temperature, it's always going to say "you." At a very high temperature, it might say, Barney the dinosaur, right? Because somebody at one time sang that. But when you think of code, don't you think of it's like there's only really one or two ways to do it. There's not a lot of high temperature ways to do it. So what this is saying is that the temperature is set low because we don't want AI being creative with our syntax and breaking the app. We want strict deterministic logic, which I would think would be a given, but I get it. I might be trying to create something. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. Let's set the temperature high and go to town. It might break it. It might come up with something. You might have a eureka moment. But for traditional programmers like Junior and I, setting the temperature low is a good thing. What
Yeah,
say
so
you?
let's actually elaborate on that a little bit because I want to make sure. So remember that a large language model fundamentally is a what's known as a token predictor, right? It's just trying to predict the next token. No, because it's easy to explain with the word with using words, it's better to actually speak in terms of words and tokens. So yeah, Johnny, when we actually say happy, that's one token. Birthday, that's another token. To, that's another token. You, that's another token. So what the large language model is actually predicting every single word one at a time. So um, if the temperature were high, the next token itself would be completely random. So if I say happy, then if I set the temperature to be high, it would not say birthday. It would probably say, you know,
Gilmore.
Gilmore. Exactly. Thanks for that. Yeah, Johnny. Right. And then after Gilmore, it may actually say and then it may say something else. So it may generate a random string that makes no sense. No, the reason why when you're coding, the temperature has to be set low is because the next token is super important in coding. If you don't have the next token being a semicolon, your code may break. It can't just randomly say, oh, I don't want a semicolon, I want a question mark, or I want a period, or I want a greater than symbol, or a less than symbol. So every single token matters. No, the overall structure of what it's generating, the happy birthday to you, could be very, very different. So the variations of creativity is not on the high level structure, it's only on the individual token level. So which is why the temperature itself is set to almost zero at the token level, not the actual high level. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, Johnny.
Yep. Let's move on to the pipeline. The inference happens in the cloud, but the IDE acts as a gatekeeper, showing you a comparison of the proposed changes before permanently altering your files. So it's sort of like an interim, right? An
Exactly.
interim stage where you can say, okay, let's publish, or you could say, let's take a step back. Let's go back to the
Exactly.
previous checkpoint.
Exactly. So the good thing is you actually have control over all your code. You can see what it's actually doing, and before it makes the changes, you can actually accept or decline, or you can just say, just go ahead, I trust you 100%. Or you can actually say, I trust you sometimes, depending if you want to run a shell command on your machine. So it gives you the best of both worlds because in the old way, meaning category one that we did last week, it doesn't have access to your local machine. In the category two, which is the agentic IDE, it has access to your local machine. So now it can actually read important informations that you can give it access to, which is a much better approach than the category one. All right, yeah, Johnny. What
All right,
else?
folks, let's go a little bit deeper. This is where Junior, AI Junior, actually accesses his embedded Neuralink. Let's answer this question, AI Junior, for the advanced people. So don't worry if you don't follow along with this section. It's all Neuralink driven. AI Junior, technically, what really happens on the back end when the IDE reads my entire project?
All right, guys. So remember this, okay? Context sizes, believe it or not, DeepSeek just released a 2 million parameter context window. Now, I have no idea how they're able to pull that off, but they release a 2 million context window for their, in DeepSeek just recently. But the point is, most of these applications itself, OpenAI is only a few 100,000 tokens. Gemini on the US side is actually 1 million tokens. So they're not necessarily that large. But the point is, even if you were to actually get these, very, very large context windows, these code bases are what's known as distributed. What that means is that your app itself is local, but is dependent on other dependencies as well. So it could be dependent on 500 other different libraries. So what happens is you can't fit everything inside the code base. So what it does is it creates a vector database locally on your machine and starts to index all your files. So it's actually understanding your files and actually storing them. So once it actually stores them, when you ask a question, remember how we actually talk about going to the library or going to the thing and picking the book that's relevant? That's exactly what it does. So when you ask a question, it uses those attention mechanisms to focus on the words that are important in your prompt. So once it actually hits the attention mechanisms, it says, hey, I see the importance of what this is. I want to do the Green Bay colors, or I want to do the Chicago Bears colors. It now figures out what is the Green Bay colors or what is the Chicago Bear colors. It goes, figures out and says, aha, I know that I have to now look at CSS. So it goes to the database, figures out, oh, where is the CSS file? Oh, I know where that is. It pulls it, makes the actual edits itself, and then because the temperature is low, it's a zero shot execution. You're not given an example. It already knows that CSS files, I need to look for a background color, and it's going to take a 6-digit hex code. It puts in the colors, and boom, you're actually done. So that's exactly what's happening behind the scenes. So AI Johnny, did anybody fall asleep?
That's got to be heavy carrying all that stuff around in your head.
Oh, you know what? My shoulders are actually kind of weak, but I'm getting stronger. Jillian says she's still here. I missed my message also about lactose intolerance. Shauna said, "Yep, I blame my Chinese dad for mine. Yep, I have a Chinese great grandfather as well, directly from China." All right, AI Johnny. So let's actually get to the key takeaways. What will we use this
I have
for?
an ethical thought, but it's actually more of a safety thought.
Sure.
Don't use Agentic IDE to blindly push code to a live company server without first reading it. Have you ever done that? Have you ever taken something from AI and then just pushed it blindly, sent out an email without even reading it, or compiled some code and threw it up to the live environment without even testing it? Well, anyway, it's saying you are ultimately responsible for any security flaws that AI introduces, and I'm here to tell you, it introduces security flaws. It's not much better than humans. It creates bugs, but you say, hey, then you come back to it using your prompt window. Instead of saying changing this variable or add a semicolon, you might say something like, what is this? Or what gives? Or that's not what I asked for. Try again. And it'll go and read what you told it the first time, realize that it didn't produce the right code, and it'll fix it. So that's kind of cool. So that ethical thought, let me give you a couple of creative business use cases for how you can use this environment. Rapid prototyping. Marketers can spin up functional interactive landing pages in minutes without waiting on a development team. So if you have an idea that you want to pitch so that you can maybe get some funding into your company, this is great for rapid prototyping. It's also good for website rebranding. Let's say you have a website, maybe you even like the website, but it's getting old, right? Because even the coolest websites, after a while, they become familiar. So you can instantly update the fonts, the colors, the layout structures across an entire web directory in a single sentence. Look at what would be your next release or your next version of your website. If you want it, push it out. If not, roll it back. And finally, interactive dashboards. You can build custom internal tools to track your sales metrics by simply describing what you want to see. All of these things just light sparklers off inside of me, Junior. It makes me want to write code to do all this stuff because I don't have to write code anymore. I just literally cut and paste what I just said, and it'll create that for me.
Yeah.
Mind-boggling. What are some technical cases, bro?
Yep. So before we get to the technical cases, I want to at least make sure we understand and differentiate category 1 and category 2 that we actually learned. So I want to just take a second here just to make sure we understand. So in category 1, remember we went over, and I'm going to actually do it. We went over to Gemini, and then because we went over to Gemini, we were able to actually open up the canvas here and actually just create an app. Now, the thing is, when you do this, you don't get the benefit of the actual full-fledged platform that you're building on. So it doesn't have access to your file system. It doesn't have access to the tools. It doesn't have access to your API keys. It doesn't have anything to those things. Now, you can give it those things, but the thing is, you get into hurdles, and these hurdles are, if you want to be able to build something a little bit bigger, you get stuck in category 1. So category 1 is really, really good for a person who's not very technical, who just wants to build something very simple. When I say simple, means it's isolated only just to your environment and it doesn't do anything else. It doesn't go anywhere, and that's it. Now, if you want a little bit more power, you actually need to get into something that can actually build a little bit more sophisticated code, which is why we actually have Visual Studio Code. No, it's the best of both worlds, where if you want to build something a little bit bigger, but you're not very technical, you download Visual Studio Code and you have your sidekick right beside you asking it to go fix and change everything for you, which is the best of both worlds. You have your code, not very technical, but you actually have your sidekick there. Now, these are competitors out there are on the cloud. If you don't want to download Visual Studio Code, you have Manus is actually a very popular one. You have V0 is a very popular one. All of these are category 2 development agentic IDEs, where you have access to the code, but the primary way to interact with it is through a agent. All right, AI Johnny. So there's the difference in category 1 and category 2. Hopefully that's a little bit clearer on why I would use category 1 and category 2.
It's clear to me.
Awesome.
Is category 2 the last of the categories?
No, we have one more. We have one more.
I was going to say, what has more categories, IDE environments or hurricanes?
That's funny. I love it, yeah, Johnny. All right. So now onto the technical things. So now for the technical side, if say for example you want to point your agent to an old script and tell it to rewrite the entire folder into a modern language, you can actually do that. You know, you want to instruct the IDE to autonomously write and execute unit tests for every function. Now, guys, I know I keep talking about code here, but I want to give you guys a little secret, just a little secret. Visual Studio Code, even though it's meant for code, it's not required that you put code in there. You could technically put anything in there. You could put a folder with emails, with documents, with PDFs. You can put your whole entire school course of everything inside of that folder. And you can tell the Copilot, say, hey, or you could connect it to Claude, or you could connect it to Gemini, whatever it is, and say, hey, these are my assignments that I have in this folder. Can you go ahead and create me a study guide? And because it's a poor man's version of a RAG system, it will technically read all my homework assignments, and it will just create a web page for you, or create a tool that says, hey, these are the things that actually I think you should study for. And because you have everything on your local machine already, it's a really great way to be able to just point it to a folder and ask it questions without you uploading those files into Gemini or Claude or those other things. So I want you guys to realize that just because the tool's meant for one thing doesn't mean you can't use the tool for something else. Yeah, Johnny, how about that? What was that tip?
Well, as I'm writing vibe coding to teach myself and others things right now, it's actually quite timely.
Yep, exactly. And the last one is bug swashing. So you can, paste terminal errors into the chat and just let it hunt down the actual bug or broken variable in your microservice. So yeah. All right, yeah, Johnny, do we have any questions in the live stream? Does anybody have any questions in the Zoom chat?
There's some stuff in the stream for sure. And I'm looking over the questions right now. There's some pretty good ones in here, actually.
Let's hear them.
Well, I like this one. How does from Samurai, how does the IDE handle massive code bases that exceed the token limit?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, in the deeper dive, what happens is all your files itself are indexed, and it just reads it relatively quickly, puts them into a vector database itself, and then it figures out what is in these things. So when you're actually saying, I want to change something, it doesn't send all your files to Gemini, or it doesn't send the whole thing over to Claude. What it does is it only selects those section of files. So if you say, I want to change the color, it says what files exist that have color in there, and it knows the CSS is the actual thing. So it sends that over to the to Gemini or to Claude or to Copilot or wherever it sends it to, and then it says, hey, the user wants to change the color from, green to pink. Where should I inject the code? And it says, okay, inject the code here. And then on your local machine, it just does a find and replace, and replaces that section, and then actually puts it in there. So it doesn't send the whole entire thing. It's just only just targeted pieces of pieces. It actually it takes it into the context window. Great question.
Here's a good question from Thinker 2050. Wants to know if we can edit entire projects automatically. What are we going to say to human software engineers who rely on a paycheck every week for being software engineers? What's our bedside manner?
Yeah, we just say, bye-bye all software engineers. So again, we have these questions all the time, and I just want you guys to remember, just like how we had a new level of people who actually coded in ones and zeros, all those people itself shifted into some other thing, and they shifted. So we are going to be shifting to other things as well. So keep in mind that you may not have traditional developers that code in actual with syntax. They may code in natural language. So but understanding the computer science concepts is still very valuable, and understanding how things work, because the AI will statistically make a prediction, but unfortunately that prediction may not be in line with your long-term vision with the actual project. So keep that in mind, guys. All right, Johnny, can we go to the news?
Is it time for Elon Musk news yet?
Hells yeah, you know that, Johnny.
I'm going to jump right to that. We'll come back to Anthropic. OpenAI versus Elon Musk trial spills the tea. The trial of the decade just got incredibly juicy. Court documents reveal frantic internal Slack messages between the OpenAI board and, is it pronounced Leah Sutskever, right before Sam Altman was ousted. We also got the wild details on Emmett Shear's chaotic 72-hour run as the interim CEO, where he reportedly threatened to resign unless the board provided written proof of Altman's wrongdoing. It completely exposes the panicked power struggle over AGI control. I don't know if that's good or bad for Sam. What is it?
Yeah, it's just a soap opera at this point, Johnny. Everything is actually coming out. Things are actually, you can see that, the civil war itself internally was bad. The board itself fired him officially. Then the coup happened and they said they were not going to work. And, they said, we're going to fire all the members of the board. It's just backwards, you can't fire the
so
board.
Emotional.
I
so
know.
emotional.
I know.
Man, just shut up and watch the movie. All right, Anthropic's massive development day on May 6th. Anthropic held their highly anticipated developer day, unveiling major upgrades to Claude's coding capabilities. They introduced a new enterprise tier that natively integrates with corporate repositories, heavily focused on secure agentic workflows. There's going to be news on that, I'm sure, next week.
Definitely. And finally, Johnny, in Google DeepMind news.
Google DeepMind released AlphaFold 3 in a verified monumental leap for science. Google DeepMind just released AlphaFold 3. This revolutionary model goes beyond just proteins. It accurately predicts the structure and interaction of all life's molecules, including DNA, RNA, and ligands. First I've heard of that term. It is a massive breakthrough that will fundamentally change the drug discovery and biology. What a show.
Yeah,
I'm going to go take my message first. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, this is super important. This one's actually blows my mind. And the reason why it blows my mind is because, us humans itself has never been able to really figure out or understand, the life building blocks and creating it, right? So only just recently, they were able to actually create synthetic life with synthetic bacteria, all created with programmatic DNA, which means that they were able to actually just create a brand new bacteria with programming the DNA of how they wanted to do it, and the bacteria is alive. So it's actually rather interesting. I can't believe we're actually seeing this in 2026. I thought this would have been 2028, 2030, 2050. So it's a really, really simple thing right now. It's a proof of concept, but the point is AI is just helping us, and lots of research is figuring out what things can be actually built. be doing synthetic life and synthetic things is actually a bizarre thing to even say out of my mouth. So yeah, just we're watching these very, very closely, guys.
You know, I'm going to take my messy personal old websites that I built in the 90s and load in my IDE and tell GitHub Copilot to completely redesign it for futuristic interactive portfolios, which almost seems like a plug for our time travel series.
Definitely.
What a phenomenal continuation of season 12. I do like this vibe coding stuff. We've successfully taken the training wheels off and moved out of the chat box and into a real IDE. Join us tomorrow for the Text in Image Master featuring ideogram. We're going to explore instant, typo-free merchandise generation, so don't miss that. Junior, what do you say, buddy?
Yep, guys, as always, thanks for hanging out with us live. These classes are free every single day at noon Eastern time. You can ask your questions anytime you want on Zoom. And then if you want to get reminders about this, create an account at www.airheadinstitute.ai and support us by becoming a paid member. Since today is Monday, remember on Wednesday, in 2 days, we actually have Airhead After School and AI Office Hours from 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern time if you're a pro member. Invite a friend, and share this episode. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead After School program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.